Good morning, and I would like to welcome you to a happy Monday morning.
Welcome to the Stars for Stars Legend, wait for it, Terry Lerner Show. Brought to you by the amazing Mrs. Smith.
Thank you. And again, good morning. I miss you all, and I wish that we were together. And I'm sure that you may have all heard that we won't be together for the rest of the year, except for at least we still have office hours to see each other. And I will still be doing these lessons every day. So let's go ahead and start on our lesson for today. And we're looking at multiplication patterns. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make this screen smaller, just like I always do, so that I can pull up, and you will see that I already have some notes written. So I have my title, and this would be a good time to pause. So you should already have your math journal out, ready to take notes. And these are our notes for today. So let's first we want to look at the patterns and the properties of multiplication. So last week, we discussed those properties of multiplication. And we're going to look at them in our examples today. All right, so let's first look. All right, what is a factor? So if we look in all this jumble mess, that we know that a factor are the numbers that we multiply together. And a multiple is the product of any number and another whole number. And then if I get myself out of the way, it says, what is an even number and an odd number? So then we start looking at right here. So thinking about those odds and evens. So I already have on here for us, an even number is a number that can be divided into two equal groups. An odd number, or all the odd numbers, are numbers that cannot be divided into two equal groups. And then I've listed them for you. So this would be a good time, like I said, go ahead and pause. Get this down so you have everything. And then let's look at our next slide. So looking at patterns of multiplication. Before we look at this, we want to think about those even and odds. Because a while back we learned that we can use this to help us find our products. For example, if I am given an even number and I multiply that by an even number, my product, is it going to be even or odd? Great, it's going to be an even number. So let's look at 2 times 4. Well, 2 times 4 would be like 2 groups of 4. That would be 8. And we can see that these are all even numbers. Now, if we look at an odd number times an even number, Our product will be, think about it, an odd number, for example, 3. If I multiply that by an even number, for example, 6, then my answer is 3 groups of 6 would be 3 groups of 6. 6, 12, 18. What is 18? Is that an even or an odd? That's an even number. So when we multiply an odd times an even, we get an even. And our third one that we would like to look at is when we multiply an odd number times an odd number. What will we get? So let's take our 3 again, because we know that that's an odd number, and multiply it by another odd number, 5. And our answer is 15. 15 is an odd number, so when we multiply an odd number times an odd number, we get an odd number. Now let's look here on our slide. It says my factor is 4. Let's shade all the multiples of 4 in the hundreds chart. Remember the difference between a hundreds chart and a multiplication chart. Do you notice any patterns? So this hundreds chart, when we look at it, let's look here. The factor is 4, the multiples of 4. So when we look at the multiples of 4, remember the multiples are any product is the product of any number and another whole number. So when we look here, let's see if we can get a little closer for you. All right, we can see the multiples of 4 are anything that give us that we can multiply by 4. So 4 divided by 4 equals 1. Correct? Okay. Now, let's look at the 4 patterns. So when we do it, it's anything 4, 8. Remember, 4 divided by 4 equals 1. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. 12 divided by 4. So all these numbers that are highlighted in green are numbers that we can multiply by 4. So these are all multiples of 4. Let's look at the sevens column. What do you notice? So think about the sevens. What is 7? Is it an even or an odd? It's an odd. So when we multiply it by 0, we get an even. When we multiply 7, which is an odd, by 1, we get an odd. Multiply 7 by 2, which is an even, we get an even number. So look at the products of when we multiply 7 times 0. So it's even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even, odd. So they alternate even and odd. And when you look at the 5s, any patterns, we've already thought about. So go back to these properties of multiplication. The zero property is any number times zero will give you zero. So this means that a number multiplied by zero will always give us zero. The identity property states that any number times 1 is equal to that number. Commutative property. When we look at, we can see that 1 times 7 is 7, just like 7 times 1 equals 7. So it doesn't matter what order the factors are in. So let's see. A factor A times a factor B will be the same and give us the same product as factor B times factor A. That helps us because we can look at the fives. What do you notice about the ones placed in the fives? What do all the ones placed in then? A 0 or a 5. Great job. So we know that any number multiplied by 5 will end in a 0 or a 5. So for your work for today, I want to make sure that you have all your notes. This is a good time to pause if you need to make sure that you finish all of your notes. And then I was looking, a lot of you on your Google Classroom, you are turning in your work for center work, but you're not completing it, like the written responses. So this week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the written response and the eSpark because a lot of you aren't doing that eSpark either. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep it for another week as our centers. And for your work today, we've already went through our slides, and then your work is this independent classwork Google form, and it is on your work for April 27th. Woo, can you believe we are already at April 27th? You are doing fantastic, boys and girls. I just need you to make sure that you get on and do this work and make sure before you turn it in that you actually type in it and complete the work. All right, boys and girls, I miss you and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you later. Bye, boys and girls. It just wants to keep me on there forever with you. Bye, boys and girls.